I never thought my engagement would start with a prenup discussion over Eggs Benedict, but that's exactly how Grant chose to do it. The ring was stunning, a 3-carat diamond that caught the morning light streaming through the cafe windows. But somehow, the stack of legal papers beside it cast a longer shadow. My name is Marin, and I own a chain of boutique laundromats across the city. Not exactly glamorous, but it's honest work that's made me financially independent. Grant always said that's what attracted him to me, my business sense. Now, sitting across from him at our favorite brunch spot, I'm wondering if that's all he ever saw. "It's just a formality, sweetheart," Grant said, sliding the papers toward me while adjusting his perfectly knotted tie. "Every smart couple does this nowadays." I picked at my hollandaise sauce, buying time. "I understand protecting our assets, but an infidelity clause? That seems practical," he finished, flashing that smile that usually melted my reservations. "Look, we're both successful people. We need to protect ourselves." The waiter refilled our coffee cups, and I caught him trying not to stare at the papers. Grant waited until he left before continuing, his voice dropping to that soft, persuasive tone he uses in court. "My last relationship ended badly, Marin. You know that. I just want us to start with complete trust and transparency." I took a sip of coffee, remembering my mother's words from last week. Sometimes the people most obsessed with trust are the ones you can't trust at all. But Mom tends to see shadows where there aren't any. Her own marriage ended badly 30 years ago. "The clause goes both ways," Grant continued, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. "If either of us cheats, the other gets everything. It's mutual protection." I studied his face, those warm brown eyes, the slight crease between his brows that appeared whenever he was being serious. We'd been together for 18 months, and he'd never given me reason to doubt him. Still, something felt off. "Can I have my lawyer look it over first?" His hand tightened slightly on mine. "Of course, but I'd love to announce our engagement at the firm's charity gala this weekend. Having this signed would make everything cleaner." The word choice made my stomach turn. Cleaner. Like the stains I help people remove from their clothes every day. Some things never come completely clean, no matter how hard you try. "I'll read it over tonight," I said, forcing a smile. "But yes, I'll marry you, Grant Holloway." His face lit up with genuine joy, or what looked like it, and he slipped the ring onto my finger. It fit perfectly, which meant he'd planned this meticulously, just like everything else in his life. Later that evening, I called my mother to share the news. Her response wasn't what I expected. "An infidelity clause?" She paused, and I could picture her pacing in her kitchen, twirling the phone cord like she always does when she's worried. "Honey, has he ever mentioned someone named Eliza?" "No," I said, my engagement ring suddenly feeling heavier. "Should he have?" "Maybe not," she replied after a long silence. "Just have your lawyer look at those papers very carefully, and maybe do some digging into his past relationships. Sometimes people who are overly concerned about cheating are projecting their own guilt." I ended the call feeling unsettled. The ring caught the light from my desk lamp, sending tiny rainbows dancing across the prenup papers. Beautiful things often cast unexpected shadows, and I was starting to wonder what shadows Grant might be hiding in his perfectly ordered life. Looking down at the papers, I noticed something odd, a small notation about prior relationship dissolution agreements that seemed out of place. Maybe Mom was right. Maybe I needed to do some digging before I signed anything. After all, in my business, I've learned that the worst stains are often the ones you can't see until it's too late. The smell of my mother's lasagna usually brings comfort, but tonight it's competing with the knot in my stomach. I'm sitting at her kitchen table, watching her methodically layer pasta and sauce while I fidget with my new engagement ring. The diamond catches the light from her antique pendant lamp, throwing sparkles across the worn tablecloth. "You're not eating," Mom says, setting down her wine glass. "And you've been staring at that ring like it might bite you." I force a smile. "Just thinking about the prenup. Did Dad ever ask you to sign one?" Her hands freeze mid-motion, sauce dripping from the spoon. It's the same look she gets whenever anyone mentions my father, like she's seeing a ghost. "No," she says finally. "Your father wasn't that organized, but he had other ways of controlling things." She wipes her hands on her apron and sits across from me. "I found something yesterday after you called about Grant's proposal. I wasn't sure whether to show you, but..." She pulls out an old manila envelope from a kitchen drawer. "What's this? Remember that private investigator friend of mine? Leo Turner?" I nod. Leo used to come around when I was younger, always bringing chocolate and making me laugh with terrible dad jokes. He did some digging for me back when your father left. I never showed you because, well, you were just 16. But maybe it's time you understood why I'm worried about Grant. Inside the envelope are photographs, dozens of them. My father with another woman, entering hotels, sharing intimate moments. But what catches my eye is a document. A prenuptial agreement with an infidelity clause, nearly identical to the one Grant showed me. I don't understand, I whisper. Dad never made you sign a prenup. No, this was for his second marriage. To Eliza Brooks. The name hits me like a punch to the gut. Eliza? The same Eliza you asked about. Mom reaches across the table, squeezing my hand. Eliza worked at your father's law firm. She was 27 when he left me for her. The same age she is now, working at Grant's firm. My wine glass trembles as I set it down. You think Grant and Eliza. I think history has a way of repeating itself unless we learn to recognize the patterns. She pulls out another photo, a younger version of herself, standing beside my father at some corporate event. They're both smiling, but there's tension in their poses. Your father was always paranoid about me cheating. Turns out, he was the one with secrets. The lasagna sits forgotten in its pan as Mom continues. The day before he left, he accused me of having an affair with Leo. Can you imagine? Leo was helping me gather evidence, and somehow your father twisted that into proof of his own suspicions. I think about Grant's insistence on the prenup, his constant texts checking my whereabouts, the way he tenses up whenever I mention male clients from my business. Have you noticed Grant becoming more protective lately? Mom asks carefully. I remember last week's charity event, how Grant's hand tightened on my waist when I chatted with his colleague. How he insisted on driving me home instead of letting me take a cab. I should go, I say suddenly, standing up. I need to check something. Mom finishes, understanding in her eyes. Leo's still around, you know. Still terrible at jokes, but excellent at finding answers. As I gather my things, Mom hands me the envelope. Keep these. And Marin, remember that sometimes the people who guard against betrayal the hardest are the ones with the most to hide. Driving home, my phone buzzes with a text from Grant. Where are you? Thought we were having dinner together tonight. I hadn't told him about visiting Mom, just like I hadn't told him about finding a strange earring in his car last week. One that definitely wasn't mine. Another text follows. By the way, did you sign those papers yet? The gala's tomorrow. I think about the prenup sitting and signed on my desk, about Eliza Brooks, about patterns repeating themselves. Maybe it's time to make a call to Leo Turner. After all, some stains need professional help to remove, and I'm starting to suspect there are more secrets in Grant's perfectly pressed life than even he realizes I can see. The anonymous email arrived while I was doing inventory at my flagship store. Ask Grant about the camera in your bedroom. No subject line, no signature. Just those 7 words that made my blood run cold. I almost dropped my tablet, steadying myself against a shelf of lavender-scented dryer sheets. The message couldn't be real. But then I remembered Grant's increasing paranoia, his constant questions about my late nights at work, his insistence on upgrading our home security system last month. My phone buzzed, speaking of the devil. Coming home early tonight. Made dinner reservations at Bellini's. Wear that blue dress I bought you. The blue dress. The one he'd insisted on buying after seeing me talking to my new supplier, Marcus, for too long at a business convention. I texted back a quick, okay, and called Leo Turner instead. Check for cameras, Leo said after I explained the situation. Start with smoke detectors, air vents, and any new electronics. And Marin, don't let on that you know. I waited until Grant texted that he was stuck in a meeting before going home. Our bedroom looked exactly as I'd left it this morning. Perfectly made bed, Grant's ties arranged by color. My jewelry box positioned just so on the dresser. But now everything felt sinister. The new smoke detector caught my eye first. Grant had installed it himself, insisting the old one was outdated. Standing on a chair, I carefully removed the cover. My hands shook as I found the tiny camera lens, nearly invisible unless you knew what to look for. My phone buzzed again. Another anonymous email. Check his laptop. Password, Eliza B. 1995. I sat at Grant's desk, my fingers hovering over his keyboard. This was wrong. This was invasion of privacy. This was exactly what he'd done to me. The password worked. His emails loaded, and there it was, dozens of exchanges with Eliza Brooks. Meeting arrangements. Late-night messages. Photos. Running late tonight, darling. Don't wait up. The timestamp showed last Thursday, when Grant told me he was working late on the Morrison case. The front door clicked open downstairs. Marin, are you home early? I quickly closed the laptop, my heart pounding. Just changing for dinner. I called down, trying to keep my voice steady. Grant appeared in the doorway, his smile faltering slightly as he saw me by his desk. Everything okay? Fine, I said, forcing a smile. Just needed to borrow a pen. He crossed the room, placing his hands on my shoulders. From this angle, I could see the smoke detector, the camera pointed directly at us. You seem tense. Work stress. Actually, something weird happened today, I said, watching his reflection in the window. I got this strange email about cameras in our bedroom. Crazy, right? His hands tightened slightly on my shoulders. Probably just spam. You know how hackers are these days. Probably, I agreed, stepping away. Should I wear the blue dress tonight? Perfect choice, he said, but his eyes darted to the smoke detector for just a fraction of a second. At Bellini's, Grant ordered wine and launched into a story about his latest case. I nodded along, noticing how he kept checking his phone under the table. Oh, he said casually. I need those prenup papers signed by tomorrow. The firm's partnership announcement is coming up, and appearances matter. Partnership announcement? I asked, remembering something from his emails. Is that why Eliza's been working such late hours? The wine glass froze halfway to his lips. Eliza. Brooks, I said, watching his face carefully. Your new associate? Mom mentioned her. Right, he said, setting down his glass. She's dedicated. Speaking of work, how's Marcus? Haven't seen him around lately. The deflection was smooth, practiced. Just like the way he'd smoothly installed that camera. Just like he'd smoothly convinced me I was imagining things when that earring turned up in his car. My phone buzzed one more time. Another anonymous email. Check the restaurant's security footage from last week. Table 12. Same time, different woman. I looked up at Grant, still talking about Marcus, still trying to direct suspicion away from himself. The diamond ring felt heavy on my finger, like a shackle rather than a promise. Actually, I said, cutting him off mid-sentence, let's talk about the camera in our bedroom. Leo's office hasn't changed in 20 years. Same worn leather chairs, same coffee-stained desk, same stack of case files threatening to topple over. But I've changed, sitting here clutching a USB drive containing footage from Grant's hidden cameras. You need to see this, Leo says, clicking through files on his computer. Your mother was right to be worried. The security footage from Bellini's plays out in grainy black and white. There's Grant at table 12, but instead of Eliza, he's with a woman I've never seen before. Their body language is intimate, familiar. The timestamp shows this was just 3 days after he proposed. There's more, Leo says quietly. Much more. My engagement ring catches the light from his desk lamp, and I twist it absently. Show me. Files appear on screen, bank statements, emails, photos. A pattern emerges. Grant's paranoia about cheating isn't just projection. It's strategy. He's done this before, Leo explains, pulling up marriage records. 3 engagements in the past 5 years. Each time, there was a prenup with an infidelity clause. Each time, he manufactured evidence of cheating. My phone buzzes, Grant asking where I am. I ignore it. The cameras aren't just about watching you, Leo continues. They're about controlling the narrative. If you look closely at the footage from your bedroom, there are subtle edits. He's creating his own evidence. A knock at the office door makes us both jump. It's Mom, carrying a familiar manila envelope. I found something else, she says, laying out more photographs. These are from your father's case, but look at this woman in the background. I lean closer. Behind my father and his mistress stands a much younger Grant Holloway. He worked at the same firm as your father, Mom says. He wasn't just Eliza's colleague, he was her mentor. The same way your father was before. My phone buzzes again. Grant, dinner at home tonight. Important partnership news to discuss. Where's something nice? He's going to try to trap you, Leo warns. The partnership announcement, the prenup deadline, it's all connected. Look at this pattern with his previous fiancés. The evidence is devastating. Each woman signed the prenup, each was accused of cheating, and each lost everything in the aftermath. But something doesn't add up. Why the anonymous emails? I ask. Who's trying to warn me? Leo and Mom exchange glances. We think it's Eliza, Mom says. She's starting to piece things together too. Grant's getting sloppy, probably because he's running both plays at once. My phone lights up with another text. Found something interesting on the bedroom camera. We should talk. He's getting desperate, Leo observes. That's when these types make mistakes. I stand up, gathering the evidence into my bag. Then maybe it's time we use those mistakes against him. Marin, Mom starts, concern etching her face, but I cut her off. I'm not running away like those other women. He wants to play games with hidden cameras and fake evidence? Fine. Let's see how he handles having his own tactics turned against him. Be careful, Leo warns. Men like Grant are most dangerous when they're cornered. I check my phone one last time. 3 missed calls from Grant and a new anonymous email. Don't go home tonight. He knows. But I'm done hiding. Done being manipulated. Done letting history repeat itself. I need copies of everything, I tell Leo. And I need you to get a message to Eliza. Tell her I know about Table 12, and I have a proposition for her. Mom touches my arm. What are you planning? I think about the camera in our bedroom, about Grant's careful manipulations, about all the women before me who lost everything. Grant wants evidence of cheating? I say, slipping off my engagement ring. I'm going to give him exactly what he wants, just not the way he expects. My phone buzzes one final time. Grant, where are you? The camera feed is down. I smile, thinking of the short circuit I caused before leaving this morning. Sometimes the best way to deal with a stain is to let it set before applying the right solution. And I've learned a thing or two about removing stubborn stains. The firm's charity gala is in full swing when I spot Eliza across the ballroom. She's wearing red, the same shade as the dress I found hidden in Grant's office closet last week. Our eyes meet, and she gives me the slightest nod. The plan is in motion. Grant's hand tightens on my waist. You seem distracted tonight. Just thinking about the prenup, I say, watching his reflection in the window. I have some questions about the infidelity clause. His smile doesn't quite reach his eyes. We can discuss that later. The managing partners are about to make their announcement. The ballroom falls quiet as the senior partner takes the stage. I check my phone, a message from Leo. Security footage downloaded. Standing by. Ladies and gentlemen, the partner begins, we're pleased to announce our newest partner track associates. Grant's grip on my waist becomes painful. I notice his other hand clutching his phone, knuckles white. He's waiting for something. First, Grant Holloway, whose dedication to our firm has been exemplary. Applause fills the room. Grant steps forward, all practiced charm and perfect smile. But I see the tension in his shoulders, the way his eyes keep darting to his phone. And joining him on the partner track, Eliza Brooks. The room spins slightly as everything clicks into place. The red dress. The partnership announcement. The prenup deadline. It's all connected, just not the way Grant planned. Excuse me, I say, stepping away from Grant. Ladies' room. In the elegant bathroom, Eliza is already waiting. Did you bring it? I pull out the USB drive. Everything Leo found, including the security footage from your office last week. The real footage, not Grant's edited version. Her hands shake slightly as she takes it. He's planning to announce our engagement tonight, right after he exposes your affair with Marcus. I know, I say, checking my lipstick in the mirror. That's exactly what we want him to do. My phone buzzes, Grant. Where are you? The announcement is in 5 minutes. Ready? I ask Eliza. She straightens her red dress. Born ready. We return to find Grant at the podium, that familiar confident smile in place. Before we continue celebrating, I have 2 announcements to make. First, he stops, staring at his phone. The edited security footage he planned to show, footage of me supposedly having an affair with Marcus, isn't playing on the big screen behind him. Instead, there's Grant himself, in his office with Eliza, planning how to trap both of us with fake evidence of infidelity. There seems to be a technical difficulty, he says, voice tight. No difficulty, I say loudly, stepping forward. The footage is playing perfectly. Why don't you tell everyone about the infidelity clause in our prenup, Grant? The same clause you used on those other women. The room goes silent. Grant's face darkens. Marin, you're making a scene. Am I? I turn to the crowd. Or am I just showing everyone exactly what they're seeing? A man who manipulates evidence, plants cameras, and tries to trap women in fraudulent prenups. Eliza steps forward, still wearing his ring. The same man who proposed to me last week, promising I was the only one? The managing partners are whispering now. Grant's perfect facade cracks as he realizes his carefully constructed plan is unraveling. You don't understand, he says, reaching for me. I can explain everything. I step back, finally slipping off my engagement ring. Actually, I understand perfectly. You wanted evidence of cheating? Well, congratulations. You just provided it yourself to the entire firm. The footage continues playing, showing Grant's elaborate scheme in his own words. The room erupts in murmurs as he stands there, his career imploding in real time. My phone buzzes one last time. Leo, police have the rest of the evidence. Standing by. I turn to leave, but Grant grabs my arm. You'll regret this, he hisses. You have no idea what I'm capable of. I smile, thinking of all the evidence we've gathered, all the women who've come forward. No, Grant. You have no idea what I'm capable of. And you're about to find out. The police officers entering the ballroom seem to agree. The police interview room feels colder than it should. I've been here for hours, watching my perfect plan unravel like a cheap sweater. Grant's lawyer is better than we expected. Of course he is. He's had practice defending against these exact accusations before. Miss Ellis, Detective Roberts says, sliding another photo across the table. Can you explain why you were accessing Mr. Holloway's private files? My throat tightens. The security camera footage from Grant's office shows me clearly, the timestamp matching exactly when I downloaded the evidence. Evidence that's now being called into question because of how it was obtained. My client, Grant's lawyer interjects smoothly, would like to drop all charges if Miss Ellis signs a non-disclosure agreement. He's being quite generous, considering the damage to his reputation. My phone buzzes in my pocket, probably Leo or Mom, wondering why I haven't answered their calls. But I can't tell them about this meeting. Can't admit how badly I've miscalculated. We have testimony from other women, I say, but my voice sounds weak even to me. Who have all since recanted, the lawyer responds. Fascinating timing, wouldn't you say? The detective pushes another document forward, bank statements showing large deposits to each of Grant's previous fiancé's accounts. All dated yesterday. He's buying them off, I whisper. He's settling potential defamation suits, the lawyer corrects. Just as he's willing to do with you. My hands shake as I read the NDA. The terms are clear. Sign and walk away, or face charges for corporate espionage, illegal surveillance, and defamation. Everything we gathered, every piece of evidence, has been twisted to look like I'm the one who set him up. There's still Eliza, I say, grasping at straws. The detective clears his throat. Miss Brooks provided a statement this morning. She claims you manipulated her into making false accusations against Mr. Holloway out of jealousy. My stomach drops. I remember Eliza's red dress, her seemingly perfect performance at the gala. Had that been real, or just another layer of Grant's manipulation? We found these in your apartment, the detective continues, spreading out photographs. They show me meeting with Leo, with Eliza, with Grant's previous fiancés. All carefully angled to look conspiratorial. Care to explain? I recognize the photography style. The same surveillance techniques Grant used on me, now turned against me. He must have been watching me the entire time. I thought I was investigating him. The camera's in your bedroom, the lawyer adds. Our evidence suggests you installed them yourself, attempting to frame Mr. Holloway. Rather elaborate scheme. My head spins. Every move I made to expose Grant's manipulation has been reconstructed to look like I'm the manipulator. Even the anonymous emails warning me about Grant. They're now being presented as evidence that I was setting up an elaborate hoax. You have 1 hour to decide, the lawyer says, standing. Sign the NDA, or we press charges. Oh, and Miss Ellis? The media would love this story. The jealous ex-fiancé who tried to destroy a prominent lawyer's career? It would be unfortunate if your business suffered from such publicity. They leave me alone with the papers. My phone buzzes again, a text from Mom. Where are you? Leo says something's wrong. Another message pops up, this one from an unknown number. You should have learned from the others. Nobody wins against Grant Holloway. I stare at my reflection in the two-way mirror, wondering if Grant is watching from the other side. Is he smiling that perfect smile, knowing he's turned my own revenge plot against me? The NDA sits there, mocking me. Sign it, and everything disappears, the evidence, the testimonies, the truth. Don't sign, and I lose everything I've built, including my business. Grant wins either way. My phone lights up one last time. It's Eliza. I'm sorry. He gave me no choice. I pick up the pen, its weight feeling like chains. In trying to expose Grant's manipulation, I've walked right into his biggest trap yet. The question isn't whether I'll sign, it's whether I can find another way to fight back after I do. Because one thing's certain, this isn't over. Not by a long shot. The storage room of my flagship laundromat isn't where I expected to have this final conversation with Grant, but there's something fitting about it. This is where I built my business from nothing, where I learned that even the worst stains can be removed with the right approach. Quite the performance at the police station, Grant says, leaning against a shelf of cleaning supplies. Signing that NDA so quickly. I almost felt disappointed. I continue folding sheets, keeping my movement steady. Did you come here to gloat? Actually, I came to return this. He places my engagement ring on top of the fresh linens. And to ask why you kept a copy of everything. The footage, the emails, the bank records, all safely stored with your mother's lawyer. My hands pause briefly. So he found out about that. Insurance, I say, meeting his eyes. Just like those cameras you installed. His perfect smile slips slightly. The NDA only covers the original evidence, I finish. Not the new material that came after. Like the recording of you bribing Eliza. Or the footage from this morning when you threatened my business. Grant's facade cracks further. You're bluffing. I pull out my phone, playing the video Leo captured of Grant's meeting with Eliza. The audio is crystal clear. Sign this statement or your career is over. Ask Marin what happens to people who cross me. Funny thing about karma, I continue, switching off the video. Sometimes it needs a little help. You really think anyone will believe you? He steps closer, trying to intimidate. I own half the judges in this city. I don't need judges, Grant. I need the truth. And thanks to you, I learned how to package it perfectly. I open my laptop, showing him the website. Pages of testimony from his previous victims, documentation of his schemes, all ready to go live with one click. The NDA prevents me from sharing the evidence, I interrupt. But not them. Every woman you've manipulated, every partner you've threatened, they're all ready to speak. No NDAs binding them. His composure finally shatters. You'll destroy everything. Like you tried to destroy me? I close the laptop. The difference is I'm giving you a choice. What choice? Confess. To the Bar Association, to your firm, to everyone. Take responsibility for what you've done. Or I release everything, not just about your schemes, but about your past. About what really happened with your father's firm 20 years ago. The color drains from his face. How did you? You're not the only one who knows how to dig up secrets. The difference is I know how to learn from them. He grabs my arm, desperate now. You don't understand what this will do. Actually, I do. I pull away, my voice steady. I understand exactly what it feels like to have someone try to erase you. To twist your reality until you doubt everything. The question is, do you? The fight leaves him suddenly, and for the first time, I see the scared boy behind the perfect lawyer facade. I never meant. He starts, then stops. I just couldn't bear the thought of being betrayed again. So you betrayed everyone first, I finish. But it doesn't have to end that way. I hand him a folder, blank papers really, but he doesn't need to know that. Your choice, Grant. Make it count. He stares at the folder, then at me. You planned this from the beginning, didn't you? Even signing the NDA was part of it. I learned from the best, I say, turning back to my laundry. Sometimes you have to lose the battle to win the war. As he leaves, clutching the folder like a lifeline, I think about all the women before me, about my mother, about Eliza. About how sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying someone, but forcing them to face their own reflection. My phone buzzes, a text from Leo. He's heading to the firm. Want me to follow? No, I reply. Let him make his choice. Either way, we win. Because sometimes the hardest stains to remove are the ones we leave on ourselves. And Grant Holloway is about to learn that lesson the hard way. 6 months later, I'm sorting through old boxes in Mom's attic when I find the newspaper clipping. Grant's resignation from the firm made headlines, though not for the reasons everyone expected. Instead of a scandal, he left to start a legal advocacy group for victims of domestic manipulation. The irony isn't lost on me. Found something interesting? Mom asks, climbing the attic stairs with 2 cups of tea. Just thinking about karma, I say, accepting the cup. Did you know Eliza's running the advocacy group with him? Mom settles beside me on the dusty floor. Leo mentioned it. Apparently, they're doing good work. Sometimes the people who hurt us the most end up being the ones who understand how to help others heal. She reaches into her cardigan pocket and pulls out an envelope, yellowed with age. Speaking of healing, I found this last week. It's from your father. My hands shake slightly as I open it. The letter is dated just weeks before his death last year, long after he'd left us for his new life. Dear Marin, it begins. By the time you read this, you'll probably have figured out why I left. The truth is, I was terrified of becoming my father, a man who controlled everything and everyone around him. Instead, I became something worse, a man who ran away from his fears. I saw the same pattern starting with Grant, but I was too much of a coward to warn you. I stop reading, looking at Mom. You knew about this? She nods. Your father called me the night before the gala. He's the one who told me about Grant's history with Eliza, about the pattern of manipulation. He wanted to make things right, in his own way. Why didn't you tell me? Because you needed to find your own way through it. Just like I did. I think about the last 6 months. Expanding my business, starting support groups at my laundromats for women leaving toxic relationships. Learning to trust my instincts again. My phone buzzes, a text from Leo. Check your email. You're going to want to see this. It's a link to a video of Grant's latest advocacy speech. He's different now, humbler, more genuine. He's talking about patterns of control, about breaking cycles of manipulation, about learning from the people we've hurt. Sometimes, he says in the video, it takes losing everything to find your true reflection. Mom touches my arm. Are you okay? Yeah, I say, surprised to find I mean it. I think I finally understand something about stains. Oh, the hardest ones to remove are the ones we can't see, the patterns we repeat, the trust we break. But once you know they're there, you can't ignore them anymore. She helps me pack up the boxes, pausing when we find my old engagement ring at the bottom of one. What should we do with this? I consider it for a moment, then slip it into my pocket. I'm donating it to Grant's advocacy group. They can sell it to fund their programs. Turning poison into medicine, Mom says approvingly. Later that night, as I'm closing up my flagship store, I spot a familiar face through the window, Eliza, dropping off donations for our shelter program. She waves, and I wave back. We're not friends exactly, but we're something more important. Survivors who learn to break the cycle. My phone buzzes one last time. An anonymous email, but this time I know who it's from. Thank you for forcing me to face my reflection. Gee, I don't respond. Some stains don't need to be removed completely. They just need to be transformed into something that reminds us why we changed. Looking around my empty laundromat, I think about all the people who come here to clean away their past, to start fresh. Maybe that's what revenge really is, not destroying someone, but creating something new from the ashes of what they tried to destroy in you. I lock up and head home, leaving the past where it belongs, cleaned, pressed, and properly stored away. After all, I've got a business to run, lives to help rebuild, and my own story to write. Some stains might never completely fade, but that's okay. They remind us where we've been, and more importantly, why we chose to change.